So in today's episode of Make This One Make Sense, Donald Trump claims that he's raked in $17 trillion thanks to his tariffs, but yet the government is shut down. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Brando, there's no way this is real life, but unfortunately it is. Take a look at Trump right here talking about the $17 trillion that he's magically raked in.
Because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct.
The look on J.D. Vance's face behind him is pretty priceless because he has to be standing there thinking to himself, okay, how can I spin this one? And how can I go to bat and lie for a guy that I once said could possibly be America's Hitler? But you always got to remember in those quotes from J.D. Vance, he did say that maybe Trump might prove to be useful. And I do believe that's why that he rode his coattail on into the White House, because J.D. Vance has always been all about Project 2025, which, by the way, Donald Trump said he had nothing to do with, and he wasn't linked to them in any way. But I just want to bring this up for you. This is what he's posting now. I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left lunatics gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. So yeah, to everyone that says we were being hyperbolic and we were just making that up and there was no connection between Donald Trump and 2025, there you go. There's another receipt. There's another time that we're having to say, we told you so. And folks, I don't like being the guy that's sitting here saying, I told you so. I really don't get any pleasure out of saying this, but we told you so. And now we have a president who is claiming that $17 trillion has been raked in when the government is shut down and Republicans are not at work. Now, I'm going to break this down on the simplest of terms, and then we're going to watch a clip here from Ben Meiselas in just a second. But I'm going to break this down on the simplest terms that I know how. All I know is that if you worked at a drive-thru at, say, a McDonald's, and the register came up short at the end of the day, you might be able to get away with it if it was a few cents or maybe a buck or two here and there. But if all of a sudden your cash register came up a couple of $100 short, hell, I bet if it even come up $20 short, your manager would want to know where that money went. And I guarantee you, if you couldn't provide a good enough answer, you would be fired. I know one time I worked in a Walmart supercenter, and I was told when I pulled the pallets of food out onto the floor, I was told to stack them, I can't remember exactly how high, but it was like, you can only stack them, the boxes this high, don't go over that. Well, I got behind, I got in a hurry, and I stacked it too high. And when I went to pull the pallet jack, this big jar of pickles just fell off and broke. A whole box of pickles was just destroyed. Guess what? I had to pay for those pickles. That's the real world. But Donald Trump doesn't live in the real world. Donald Trump lives in a world where he gets a pass for everything. But this here is a really good clip from Ben Meiselas with Congressman Robert Garcia, and they're trying to make sense of where the $17 trillion came from and why the government's still shut down.
This is, I think, a serious oversight issue. $17 trillion is apparently missing right now, and we're in a government shutdown. Trump keeps saying he's got $17 trillion. Where did it go?
Who the hell knows? I mean, first of all, Donald Trump is living in a fantasy land. And if there is $17 trillion somewhere, the government doesn't know about it. No, none of our committees have access to it. Treasury has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And so you're absolutely right. We're in a government shutdown right now. Donald Trump could actually reopen the government back up, extend healthcare subsidies, fix America's public schools, provide some subsidies to actually lower the cost of goods across this country. But we know that Donald Trump is a liar. He's either a liar or he stashed away some money somewhere in some magical way, and there's even more corruption happening. And so, look, the media needs to also get on the game here. If Donald Trump is claiming that there's $17 trillion somewhere, why isn't he being asked the question of where that money is every single minute of the day? And so this man is the most corrupt person to obviously ever be president. He lies, he steals, he cheats. Now there's apparently $17 trillion somewhere that nobody knows about. And so we've got to ask the questions. And I think that's at this moment during this shutdown, The fact that Donald Trump wants to claim that things are getting better for the American public is a joke. Costs are going up. Healthcare costs are going up. The grocery bill is going up. So that's why we're in this fight, because we are saying hell no to more tax cuts for billionaires, and let's actually lower the cost of healthcare, which if we stay strong as Democrats, we can actually hopefully negotiate and get done.
So if there's $17 trillion, though, you now have the money. What I saw was that we ran a $2 trillion deficit the last fiscal year, and last month we ran a $345 billion deficit. But actually, we're in a surplus situation, and all of this gets the farmers, right? Construction work, everybody. Like, this could be a great opportunity. So I'm shocked that James Comer, your buddy who chairs the House Oversight Committee, doesn't he want to know where the $17 trillion is? Because it solves everything. What else would oversight be doing other than oversight of 65% of our GDP?
Look, I mean, yeah, and it looks like if this keeps going, we're going to have to investigate where the hell these $17 trillion are. No question, because this is ridiculous that Republicans are the hypocrisy, right? I mean, Republicans are saying, on one hand, oh, there's not enough money for healthcare subsidies. And then on the other hand, they are stashing away money, giving it to their billionaire friends, doing all these tax breaks, increasing exponentially the national debt. So they could really care less about working people.
I want to drive that point home. They truly could. They could not possibly care less about the American working people. Folks, this is absolutely Hypocrisy 101. How many times have you been in an argument with a MAGA conservative and they were talking about, if we just had all that money back we sent to Ukraine, we could really help the American people. And now they're going to sit back and turn a blind eye as Donald Trump says out loud, we've brought in $17 trillion. Well, where did it go? Where's the receipts on that one? Now, one could look around and speculate, and they could say, boy, there sure is a whole lot of gold in the White House these days. There's a ballroom being built. I really think we need to see the receipts on all of those things, don't you? I mean, the government is shut down. Republicans are not at work, but guess what? You're at work today. You're busting your ass. You're trying to feed your family. You're trying to put food on the table. And this president is decorating the White House with all this ridiculous-looking gold. He's building a ballroom. They're all doing fine. They're all still getting paid. But federal workers aren't. And there's people out there actually celebrating this. There's people out there I've seen on social media that are actually gleeful about the government shutting down because they've been duped into believing, oh, we want smaller government, and if the government shuts down, that makes it smaller. It's absolute insanity. It is absolute insanity. And where is the media on this one? The one that held Joe Biden to such a strong, they held Joe Biden to such an account. Every word that he said, every word that he hesitated to say was under a microscope. If Joe Biden had came out, sorry to do the whataboutisms, but if Joe Biden had came out and said, I brought in $17 trillion and couldn't show you where it was, I promise you Jesse Waters would be taking a stroke right now. MAGA would be coming unglued. Everyone will know the answer. And if you truly are a fiscal conservative, wouldn't you want to know the answers to this? And like Ben said, this would be a great thing if it's true. If it's true that much money come in, then we should all be doing great. What happened to those Doge checks everyone was supposed to get? How many times is this dude going to have to screw people over blatantly right in front of their faces? And how many times are we going to have to sit here and show the videos of him doing it before people finally wakes up and says, you know what? I think we've been had here. I can't count the old sitcoms I used to watch where, Andy Griffith's show, there would be some grifter come to town and he would trick Opie, into thinking he was a good guy. There was an episode where the Buddy Epson that played Jay Clampett, it's on Andy Griffith. He shows up, he's a con artist, but he's charming. And he fools Aunt B, and he fools Opie, and then he fools Barney. And then finally Andy's like, look, I caught him red-handed, he's a crook. And then Andy and Aunt B, Opie, and Barney all kind of hangs their head. Dang, Andy, we're sorry. We didn't realize we got duped. Thanks for pointing it out, Andy. But we live in a world where if Andy points it out, he's the radical left lunatic. He's the bad guy for saying, hey, where'd $17 trillion go? They do not care one bit. Republicans do not care to insult their voters' intelligence. And that's what this comes down to. They're okay with insulting their intelligence. J.D. Vance is standing there behind Trump going, well, all I got to do is just lie to their faces. And they're dumb enough to believe it because J.D. Vance is such a pompous, arrogant prick that he's going to stand there and find a way to spin it in Trump's favor. But anyone with half a brain would have to look around and say, where the hell did that money go? Can we at least see where you got that? Can we at least see the receipts? And why in the hell are we shut down? We should all be doing really good right now. This should be a massive moment. But it's not. And we're still waiting because now the government's shut down, so they can't swear in Adelita Grijalva out of Arizona. She was the 218th vote in the Epstein files. And folks, no matter how you spin it, I'm always going to circle back to that. And I'm going to play you one last clip here from Jamie Raskin.
And it also is not lost on anyone that shutting the government down allows them not to swear in our new colleague, Ms. Grijalva from Arizona, who would be the 218th signature to discharge the Epstein files and to put a vote on that on the House floor. So it's convenient for them to shut the government down, and they're not interested in making government work for our constituents.
Yeah, it's very convenient for them to keep it shut down because they can't make it work anyway. They never wanted to make it work. That's the whole point. They never wanted it to work for people. They only wanted it to work for themselves, and they're the ones getting rich. So to everybody out there in the MAGA land who is celebrating Donald Trump and thinking he's doing good for them and thinking they're getting cheaper eggs, well, he's saying he raked in $17 trillion and you ain't seen a dime of it. So tell me how that one's working out for you. I would love to know. How is this working out? And how long can you sit there and go to bat for this guy before you finally wake up and say that you were played? I give more credit to the Manson family. I really do. Because at least the girls, when the acid wore off, they said, hey, we got played by a con man. How can MAGA still hang on to this when it is so blatantly right in front of their faces? The government's shut down, but Donald Trump raked in $17 trillion. Make it make sense.